is Real to Real Podcast. Real stories, real sports. And here's your host, Wube Gabre.
Welcome to season 2 of Real to Real. And when I told you I was coming big this season, I really meant it. This next guest, man, this is my guy, man. I've been knowing him for a few years. He always comes through for me for anything I need. That's why it's my guy. But he's the most creative and highly innovative person that I know. He has 25 years of experience in the sports industry. He gives back to his community, as we're going to talk about in a minute. He's a Hampton, Virginia native. He's played for 2 legendary coaches. In high school, he played for Coach Dennis Kozlowski at Bethel, and then he went on to play at Virginia Union for the great Joe Taylor. He is the director of communications for the NFL Players Association. He's the co-founder of the Hampton Roads Youth Foundation, which is in the 26th year. They have a Hampton Roads All-Star Football Camp that's going to be at Hampton University. That's happening in July. We're going to talk about all that and then some with my guy, Mr. Carl Francis. Carl, third time's the charm, man. We got it done.
We got it done, man. I'm just glad to be here with you, man. You know, you've been my guy for a long time. You always had my back down there with my camps and stuff, so I appreciate you, man. Glad to be here.
Oh, man, we're going to talk about that camp 26th annual, man. You've been doing your thing, giving back to the community. I'm going to put you on the spot on a few questions on that camp to see who the best one to come through there. But first, Carl, man, you grew up in Hampton, Virginia. Every time I walk around and go to the barbershop or to a local establishment, somebody knows you, bro. So what was it like growing up in Hampton, man, growing up Hampton, Virginia off of Aberdeen?
Man, Hampton is a great place because, of where it sits as it relates to the state. And in that, sitting on that peninsula, you get a sense of your own community where, we didn't have any professional football teams. We didn't, but a basketball team. So Washington, D.C. all had dreams and inspired to do bigger things within each other locally. So when you're playing youth football, the high school football players are your superstars. And then you follow them on college. And when you get to high school, you want to go where the guys that played in high school, where they went to school. And so you always chase this dream, but playing at the NFL was like Mars, so to speak. And then you always followed those guys who did make it. You always felt very proud that they were there representing the Hampton Roads area, particularly Hampton, Virginia. But Hampton is a special place, man, and football has always been the core of who we are. Obviously, basketball has caught up in a lot of ways, but man, it's a special place. It really is.
And obviously a special place for you. You come back every year. Again, we're going to talk about that camp. But as you matured and you went on, you played for a legendary coach. My man would come to the games with a suit and tie, Dennis Kozlowski. I got a chance to really get to know him later on in life, the last few years. But what was it like, man? Back then it was Bethel and Hampton pretty much battling it out. But playing for Coach Koz and going to Bethel, what was that whole experience like, Carl?
Playing for Coach Koz was an unbelievable experience because, coming up, it was only 2 coaches in the state that I was aware of that had that type of recognition and that type of respect because they had been there for so long. And that was Coach Kozlowski and Coach Mike Smith. And he had so many great players prior to him that you felt as though you were going to like Michigan or Notre Dame following some of those greats who had played at those high schools. So playing for Coach Koz was really good. It was very, at the very beginning, was very intimidating because Coach was a very disciplinarian, strict on fundamentals. And he was one of the few coaches at the beginning that really got into the mental aspect. He always used this term psycho-cybernetics, always envision yourself doing something great.
Right.
And he was he was an English teacher.
Yep.
And so he was really serious about academics. And, almost everybody that played football, he almost forced you to run track. So, he put forth the platform for you to succeed. Now, whether you followed it, that's on you. But he did lay out a good path for those who wanted to achieve success to have it.
You had success there, Carl, and then you made your way up, 64 West, went to Richmond, and
Yeah.
played for another legendary coach, Coach Joe Taylor, who was a whole mindset to go into Virginia Union. What were your other options? And obviously, Joe Taylor was a great coach. But what was your decision making behind going to Virginia Union and playing for Coach Taylor?
Well, when I left Bethel, I was in academic probation mode. And so I attended Leeds McRae Junior College in Vanderbilt, North Carolina. And so there is where I was really pushed by some really, really great players.
Mm-hmm.
And then leaving there, I decided to transfer back home. I wanted to get a little closer. So my options, I didn't want to go to Hampton University because I was born and raised. It was too close.
Too close.
And I didn't want to go to Norfolk State because everybody I went to high school with or knew either went to Norfolk State or Virginia State. So, and to be quite honest, man, I didn't know anything about Virginia Union. And I went there, I think, on a visit and committed and had to start school like 2 or 3 days later. And I had a couple of friends there that were in school to playing football that I thought that with them being there, it would be an easy transition. And so that's what really led me to Virginia Union. So that's where I started playing football for Coach Taylor. And I tell you, the one thing about being around people in the world of sports, you sometimes you tend to get really caught up in the sport of it all. Like, who can make me great? Who can make me an unbelievable athlete? But I could tell you, just like Coach Taylor and Coach Kozlowski, they were two of the most innovative, academic focused people I've ever been around. I mean, Coach Taylor,
you don't hear that much about them,
No, Coach Taylor. Well, Coach Taylor's in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yes.
So he has been respected on a high level. But Coach Taylor's all about continuing education, getting your master's.
Right.
How disciplined are you mentally? Right. He's an avid reader. He's written the books. So, and most of us obviously couldn't connect to that until we got older. But if you look at the big picture of where he is today, in terms of, being back with Virginia Union, I look back and I take in all of that. And so it was a good experience just having to, play under him for the years that I did. And it was a great experience. Met some unbelievable friends. And so it's been awesome. It was awesome. It was an awesome experience.
And this is what I love, Carl, about you, man. You make it to the NFL, but most people want to make it to the NFL as a player, but you make it as an executive. If you could take me through some steps on after leaving college, how did you make it as the director of communications for the NFLPA? Okay, so quickly,
look, one thing that I came to grips with sooner than a lot of other people was I wasn't going to be an NFL player, right?
Right. No.
And I'm just so thankful I did.
Right.
And one of the things that I appreciated about it is, I was real honest with myself. Right. And it's one thing I realize, and I tell kids today, it's okay not to be good enough.
Amen. Preach.
Okay.
Preach,
right.
Preach. Yes,
and
sir.
So you're fine with that.
Yep.
And I think for me, having the opportunity to navigate other spaces of my life at the time, I was very fortunate enough to use that time to really navigate and find myself and say, I was a communications major and I wanted to be on television to be the next, broadcaster, be on ESPN and all of that. But I thought about, why don't I get into this public relations? So anyway, I started navigating, studying that career path. And my first opportunity is with the Richmond Braves, the AAA league for the Atlanta Braves. In
Richmond. Okay.
Yeah. So I worked.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did everything, man. I pulled tarp, I sold tickets.
Okay.
I mean, man, I sold tickets in the front, the mascot, all that stuff.
Okay.
And I'm telling you,
good. That's good for people to know.
I would see my friends in the spring on the yard, and they're hanging out, laughing, they're having a good time, and enjoying themselves. And here I am. I have to, get in my car and drive like around the block to go and go to work and try to start my career.
Right.
But I tell you, man, it was the most gratifying feeling, other than those double headers at night, just to be able to, have that experience and do an internship and get my feet wet of what working in sports was really like.
And that's awesome, man. I didn't know you did all that with the Richmond Braves, man. That's an
Yeah,
awesome story.
yeah.
So you make it to that level, Carl, and you start something 26 years ago called the Hampton Roads Youth Foundation. It's the 26th year. You and my man Vernon Lee, co-founders of the organization. What was the whole mindset behind starting that whole deal with Hampton Roads Youth Foundation?
Well, when I got the job at the NFLPA, I was so overwhelmed with gratitude in my life that I was able to get a job in sports, something I've always wanted to do.
Right.
That I thought about the opportunity that I would be able to provide to other kids if I had the chance. And so I said, one of the things that if I was able to do is to have a free football camp.
There you go.
For youth and invite local players to come back, which I think that they should do it anyway. So I didn't have any quarrels about that part.
Right.
Because when we were coming up, I never had a chance to engage with the professional players that I saw on TV that my dad would tell me about,
right.
My mom would share with me. And so, and I called a few guys. It wasn't just Vernon. I called about 4 or 5 guys up, a couple of guys that I went to college with, Darren Fullwood, and Ivan Bates, Kevin Mitchell, and Vernon. And so we all got together, talked. And so as we moved on, we kind of sort of started building this idea, putting this camp together. We had our first camp at Darling Stadium with Kwame Lassiter.
Yeah.
Who else? Terry Kirby, Chris Slade, Todd Kelly, Dwight Hollier. This was our very first camp. And we were in the middle of Coliseum Mall registering kids.
Wow.
And it was just a great experience. And as we moved on, some of the guys who were there with us originally started, moving on to other things in their lives and say, hey, man, I think we should continue to do this. So, 26 years later, we're kind of still here, trying to touch lives and impact young people. And it's been, every year for the past 10 years, we keep, taking deep breaths and, hey, man, is this
it's coming up.
It's coming up. Do we still want to do this?
Right.
But every year that I, think about it, somebody else comes up and say, hey, Carl, when are you guys doing that camp again?
That's what it is. That's what everybody knows.
They email me, I get a text, hey, I'm bringing this kid here. I'm like, okay, so that means I have to do it again. So that's
do it again.
So 26 years later, we're still here.
That's amazing. Hey, what stands out, man? You said when you first started, you had some great athletes, but out of all those 26 years, what are a few things that stand out to you that makes you kind of sit back and pinch yourself? Like, man, I started this, and this is continually to go on and helping the community out.
The thing that stands out to me is I think about the number of people that have been a part of this camp that have gone on to do bigger things and better things. And I think about some of the people that have come through the camp as young campers, and are now business owners, leaders in the community, they're ministers, they're principals, they're firemen. They have all these different experiences, and I don't want to take credit for it, but I do want to feel as though some of the messaging and some of the words of wisdom that we imparted in them had some impact on them that they can take on throughout their life. So that's one of the things that I thought that was impactful to me.
That's amazing, man. Like I said, all walks of life can just relate to your camp. You have a full weekend of events. I know you don't have the names listed yet or who's coming, but if you could briefly just talk about, it's going to be in July at Hampton University, some of the events you're going to have that weekend.
Well, we're going to have July 8th as the actual camp from 9 to 1 at Hampton University. Actually, this year, we're starting to pivot a little bit and deal with more character development. So we're going to have a student athlete leadership symposium. But we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of leadership. We're going to talk about financial education.
Okay, nice.
We're going to talk about mental wellness. and some other areas of interest where I think today's athlete are faced with so many different complicated issues that we got to start really figuring out how to tap into their mental psyche to keep them in line to be productive people. Because look, if you're an athlete, you're an athlete. If you're great, you're great. But at the end of the day, we all know that ball stop bouncing, it deflates, football drops. But at some point, we want you to elevate and use your skill sets as an athlete to elevate as a productive citizen. And I think kids are stressed so much with offers and transfers and NILs now. And I'm like, well, what about your mental health? Like, have you dealt with that trauma? Have you dealt with that depression? Have you dealt with loss? And teaching them as athletes, when you drop a touchdown pass and people are getting on you, or now social media is promoting you as a guy that lost the game, how do you overcome that? Right? I'm not saying you can get rid of it, but how do you overcome that? And those are some of the things we want to teach them. And some athletes, everybody's not going to go to college on scholarship, but it doesn't mean you can't be a contributor to society. Doesn't mean you can't work in sports. So these are some of the things that we are trying to instill, and financial education. Right. Like, you need to be rich to learn how to manage money.
Right. Exactly.
All of these young people that's going to come through, at some point, you're going to get a job. And most of them, they graduate from college. They don't even know what a savings account is.
Nothing.
Right. They don't know what goes into purchasing a car. And then they go to college, and then they're approached by all these different credit card companies on campus, throughout campus, and they take out credit cards because they need quick money. Well, what do those credit cards really mean to your financial future? And these are some of the things that you don't have to wait to be a college graduate to get. So we're going to try to employ some of that information early on in the career, at least just so they can say, hey, I remember hearing about that at the student athlete symposium by Hampton Roads Youth Foundation.
Man, that's why your camp is one of the, I even told you, man, I'll say it publicly. That's why your camp is the best, man, because you focus on more than just the ball in the field between the white lines. You focus on everything and then some. I got to ask you, though, the state of the NFL, Carl, how do you feel that the state of the NFL is right now? I mean, I know there was a big deal about minority coaches earlier before the season ended. So what's your mindset on the state of the NFL right now?
I think it's good. I think it's healthy. I think guys are aware. Guys are smarter now. Guys are more educated on their minds, their bodies. I think guys are really into nutrition. I think guys are trying to really focus on becoming more financially independent, thoughtful. And I think the game, players are so much more stronger, faster, quicker, and they're bigger. And I think that it's so entertaining because they are very, very talented players, and they're working on their skill, and they're elevating the game so that there's a good product on the field, and they're having an unbelievable career. I think there are so many programs in the NFL for players to help balance them versus just being a football player. So we have a program at our job called Athlete and, right? But it's for the athlete who's playing, but also we have this campaign saying, and what are you? Because you just happen to play football, but that's not who you are.
Not who you are.
We have programs built around them taking advantage of some of those programs during the off season. They give people another perspective. We have guys that write poetry. We have guys that can sing. We have guys that love getting behind the camera, producing content, development. Some guys want to be principals. Some guys want to be venture capitalists. I mean, we have a number of different guys that are like players that are very, very smart. And we want to expose that as much as possible and help them identify themselves in that space.
That's amazing, Carl. That's dope, man. Yeah. All right, man. We got this last segment, man, called Keeping It Real, bro. I got a few quick hitters for you. First thing that comes to your mind. You ready?
All right, let's do it.
Let's have some fun with it, man. All right, man. I know you're from the 757. You have a camp that has so many great players. I need your opinion who the best player from the 757 ever to come through.
Well,
I'm not even gonna give you a number. Just whoever comes to your mind. What do you think?
I mean, okay, so good. Thank you. Don't give me a number. So I'm going some of the best.
Some of the best.
757 in terms of the region.
The whole region. Whoever. I mean, yeah, because we got to focus on Williamsburg to Virginia Beach.
Okay,
You
man,
know?
that's a lot. See, that's a tough question.
People don't understand. People don't understand how tough that question is.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you some.
Okay.
But it's a big question because some of them make it to the NFL.
Oh, I know.
So we're going to go with folks like from the early 70s. We're going to go with the Mike Dunns of the world.
Woo, people forget Mike Bethel, the Bethel quarterback.
Yep. We're going to go with the Kenny Easleys, Bruce Smiths, Lawrence Taylors, Ron Springs. We're going to go with Mel Grays, and then we're going to come up. And I know I'm gonna miss some folks, but obviously Ronald Curry.
Oh yeah,
he's.
Has he ever come to your camp?
Yeah. He's
been
a
ago. Okay.
Times around the camp, and but Ronald Curry ultimately is, probably the greatest high school athlete. Just in terms of what he's been able to accomplish, but also, man, we saw the greatest of Allen Iverson, right? But he was only. But think about this.
Thank you for saying that.
But
wow,
he only. Think about this though. We saw the greatest of him in the 11th grade.
I know, one season.
People forget that Allen only played up to the 11th grade.
I mean,
so there's no telling what he would have been even with that extra year. But he still falls down on the greatest, maybe to come out the state in terms of just what he's been able to accomplish, not just as an athlete, but as a professional athlete. We don't have many Hall of Famers other than Lonzo Mourning and others that have gone on. But obviously, Allen Iverson, I want to say that Allen Iverson and Ronald Curry.
Yep.
And then obviously, you got my guy Michael Vick, who has just changed the culture of the National Football League.
Yes.
And you got guys like Percy Harvin, great players.
And like I tell people, if you miss people off your list, it's no disrespect to them. It's just the beauty of the area. You got so many players, you know what I mean?
But you know what's funny? I was in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago, and I had to let this guy know how impactful he was to young people when he played. And I don't even know if you know this guy, and DJ Dozier.
Yeah, from Indian.
He was from Kempsville.
Kempsville, yeah.
I mean, he was a 2-sport star in
baseball. Yep.
Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
And I forget the Major League Baseball team, and DJ, he's so humble. He's such a great guy.
That's what I heard.
He was so like, no, Carl. I said, no, listen, DJ,
you the man.
I'm sitting at TV, like I'm sitting there watching TV, like I can't believe this guy played for Mitchville. And when Hampton High played them in playoffs in football, it was almost like I was at a Redskins Dallas game.
It was crazy. I'm sure.
Right. And I told him that, but yeah, we've had many guys, and obviously we got our Hall of Famers like Dwight Stevenson that very few people remember, and so I have seen some great football players, and then you got the up and coming guys like Tyrod Taylor.
That's my guy. That's my guy.
Tyrod is up here doing phenomenal thing. I mean, I was talking to him the other day, like, man, do you know you're going into your 12th year as a quarterback?
Amazing, isn't it? Amazing.
That's unbelievable.
It is
unbelievable. And then I also got to make a shout out to my nephew, man. I'm so proud of that guy. He has accomplished so many great things. I tell you, it fills my heart talking about him. That's Marcus Higgins.
That's my guy, man. Virginia, UVA.
Hampton High, one of the top players that ever played at Hampton High School's history. Yes, went on to UVA and really accomplished some phenomenal things. And now to sit here and call him the associate head football coach of the state university, I mean, that's just something that you just can't overlook. But like you said, all these other people, Mike London, the coach of William & Mary, he was a great player. Right. Sean Gale. I mean,
it's so many, man. And that's why I like to ask that question, because I love the response.
That was a setup.
No. I just love the response from everybody from this area, because it's like, they're like, man, that's tough. And they'll start naming like 30 guys. And I'm like, well, that's the beauty of the area, though. I want people to understand, like, it's more than just, the ground surface of what you see. It's so many other people that were great players that don't get enough recognition,
Right. And then we said Terry Kirby and Chris Slade, right? We said those. I mean, you got Kwame, Dwight. I mean, Dwight Holly.
Even like you said, some of the guys didn't make it to the NFL, like Mike Dunn.
No. You got Michael Husted, who was a kicker.
Thank you.
Right? Who walked on in UVA and walked on and beat out 14 kickers to play 12 years in the National Football League. That came out of Hampton High School. Straight out of
Hampton High, man. Come on.
Straight out of Hampton High, and walked on at UVA and then beat out 14 kickers as an undrafted free agent.
Wow.
To kick 14 years in the National Football League. I mean, who does this stuff?
757, brother.
Antoine Bethel. I can't forget about my young guy. You know,
HBCU, Howard. Yeah.
It's just so much, man. But anyway,
It's so
I can't look. If I left anybody off, I apologize.
Oh no, and that's what I say. Look, it's just the beauty of the area. So many people from here. All right, a couple more for you. Give me your best Coach Kozlowski story, man. I mean, you played for the man. I said he walking in there looking like Tom Landry. But give me your best Kozlowski story from back in the day, if you can remember.
You know, Koz had this thing where whenever we rode a bus to the game, you know, me and a couple of the guys, we in the back trying to stay loose a little bit, we were focused, but we was just focusing our own way.
Right.
And you know, Coach would get off the bus and he had this thing, man, where he would stand with his fists clenched on his hips, on each side of his hips. And he would stare at you as you get off the bus. And I thought that was the most craziest thing. He just wanted to look in your eyes. Like he got off the bus,
right,
stood at the bottom step and put his fist on his hips and stared at you as you came down in your eyes. And you had to act like you had to give him the impression that you were focused in. And I'm like, man, I mean, it was that old school, mindset.
Yeah.
And then he used to, before every game, we used to go over pregame at the school in the lecture hall. And I think this film that he played was over probably 70 years old. And I'm exaggerating. But man, it was a highlight film. We would go over these sets, plays and everything for each team, but what type of defense they're going to run, what type of offense. And everybody had to go up there and show what they would do. And then afterwards, we'll scrap it and he'll turn off the lights and play this Dick Buckers. He was infatuated with Dick Buckers. When I tell you Dick Buckers, this film, he showed this film every single week.
Wow. Yeah.
All the time. And the film had to be, because it was one of those films that would click, like click, 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 click,
click. Old school,
The same Dick Buckers, the same hits, and Dick Buckers talking about knocking somebody's head down, rolling down the steps and all that stuff. And he would do all these mental things to try to get you in a mental space. And as I look back, you know, he was one of the first coaches that I remember really working with the mind in order to get you into a place to play at your highest level.
Yep.
And he was really a stern coach, really a disciplinarian on the football field. Never seen a coach in shape. I mean, he would always beat everybody out to the field, beat everybody out. And he had this real upright jog. He had this upright jog with his knees up high. And he always made you feel intimidated. I don't care who it is. He always made you feel intimidated. And every time he talked to you, it would be nose to nose.
That's it, man.
But also, see, a lot of people don't know, man, Koz was a world-class track coach.
That's what I heard. Yeah, that's what I remember.
You know, he was a worldwide, I mean, he was a world-class track coach. So, you know, when you think about him, you talk about a guy, and then we talk about great football players.
Right.
You know, we had one that was 25th pick overall in Todd Kelly. With San Francisco, but what he did with what he did with Todd Kelly is what his prototype was for the perfect athlete.
Right.
Because he thought that if I could take football and put it on the track and develop it, then I can have a very athletic and fast team.
Right.
So he actually begged Todd for years to run track. And in 1 year, at 15 years old, Todd probably went from running a 4.9 or 5 flat in the 40 to maybe a 4.6, 4.5 in 1 year of Koz turning him into a track runner. And in the same year, Todd won the state championship in the 110 high hurdles.
Wow.
And everybody's like, where did this come from? But that was Coach Koz, because the morning of the state meet, when they were about to run the state, Coach had been looking at film and he saw a little tweak that he needed to make with Todd. So he told Todd to meet him up at the school before they leave. Let's get on the track. And he told Todd to try a little tweak in his get off, in his takeoff. And Todd did it, and he won the state. And those are the things that Koz, a very stickler for fundamentals and technique. He always yelled technique, you know, court ego, technique, and all this. So he was really a stickler for that. Yes, he was.
Yeah, I heard so many stories, and even Iverson, when he got his the gym named after him at Bethel.
Yeah,
we were in the back, and Iverson personally told Koz he was the best coach he ever had. And Koz really appreciated him saying that, because he didn't really understand what he did for him back then. And that was great for Bubba Chuck to say that, because the Kaz was, from the stories I heard, Carl, just like you said, man, that guy was stern, but he was well respected in the area and in school and all over, man.
Yeah, and he knew when he had a special talent.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
And he knew when he saw Bubba, he had never seen anything so unique and so different. And he saw it, but it's like, am I really looking at probably the greatest athlete that ever come through the state of Virginia?
Yeah. Right.
In the country, like, this is real. But you got to remember, he's in the 11th grade. Think of it, he's dominating the entire state in football and basketball. So, you think about that, people keep talking about Allen Iverson as if he played a 12th grade year and man, he did this for 3 years. I mean, the guy only played varsity for 2 years.
I know, man.
And beat Hampton 10th and 11th grade.
Yep, he did.
I don't think that's ever been done at Bethel High School, back at that time.
No,
so
not at all.
Man, Koz had him.
Yeah, he was the man. All right, last couple for you, Carl. What's next for you, man? What's your long-term goal, whether it's the Hampton Roads Youth Foundation or even the director of communications at NFLPA? What's next for you? What's your long-term goal?
My long-term goal, man, is to continue to create programs and initiatives, man, to help young people like I'm doing with the camp. And as career goals, man, there's so many different opportunities, things that have come across my desk that I'm really interested in, dealing with technology,
right,
dealing with content development. And I want to tell so many stories. And I want to tell some stories of the 757. I do. Yeah. I've been meeting with a few people to come up with some ideas of telling some of the most interesting, compelling stories around our area, that people really don't understand. You talk about Allen Iverson and Michael Vick, two of the most, they're cultural icons. And I told Michael this a couple of weeks ago, like, you actually changed the NFL on its head in terms of having a quarterback that naturally and gifted to play in the NFL and did it your way from a cultural standpoint.
That's right.
And Allen Iverson did the same way, where they changed the dress code. Like, he didn't change, and both of them grew up within a couple of miles from each other.
Right.
And to this day, they are looked upon as cultural icons in two of the biggest sports in North America. And they come right from the city of Hampton and Newport News, from that area.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Crazy. Last question for you, man. You alluded to it earlier, but if you can expand on, I know you travel the country and travel the world, and when you see somebody from the 757, your antennas go up. But how much pride do you take from being from the 757? And when you go around and you see other people from the 757, how much love do you guys get?
It feels so good, because I was talking, I think about every time I talk about quarterbacks, right? And we think about them. And one guy that I did leave out that I should not have, is Aaron Brooks.
Oh, yeah.
And to go around and talk to people and to look at this area as once being viewed as the quarterback, the quarterback capital.
Right.
Because you got guys like, Aaron Brooks leading the way.
Yep.
You got Allen Iverson in high school. You got Ronald Curry in high school and in college. And then you got, like I said, Marcus Hagan's in a high school, college. And then you have a guy like Tyrod that just takes it and just blows the roof off the whole process. And then you go across the water. You got guys like, EJ Manuel, younger guys that had great college careers like Taj Boyd, Philip Sims, and all these guys. But what I'm saying is, when you look at stories like that, and people always identify with, hey, you know what? You're from the 757 with Michael Vick and Allen Iverson and Ronald Curry. I'm like, yeah, and so it's always a good feeling.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I enjoy is knowing that all of our players have done some things that have also increased the credibility of our area in terms of becoming really, really good people.
That's right.
And really making a difference in business and politics and sports. And so, I look at a guy like Don Carey and Aaron Rouse.
Aaron
Now
Rouse. I
the
was
city
going to
council.
mention him. Aaron Rouse.
Yeah,
Yep.
the
Yep.
city, the city council members and
Right.
Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. I mean, having those guys, you got Bruce Smith, who's one of the leaders in our area in terms of business,
that's right.
Ideas and thoughts. And you got obviously got the coaches with, Coach London and so many guys that have done so many tremendous things. And you got Aaron Brooks, who owns Brooks Landing in downtown Newport News. Redeveloped an entire shopping center down
That's
there.
right. That's right. That's right.
And then you got guys like, obviously, I was listening to Mike Tomlin, he's always with us in our camps. And like I said earlier, he made a great point talking to the kids about, pursuing your dream and what your purpose is in life, and understanding that playing football don't necessarily equate to your success. Right. And he was talking about himself. He had good grades, great student, but he went to women married, but he's found out soon enough he just wasn't good enough. Right. Now he's become a NFL Hall of Fame football coach. Yep. And guess what? He doesn't have to deal with all those surgeries and neck problems and back problems and knees and hips. Like, and that's with me. Like, we both talk about that. Like, we can be in the NFL and we can work in professional sports without having to deal with all that hitting and that's right. Bodily, pain that you have to go through to get to this ultimate goal. And so it's always a good thing.
See, a lot of people they think just the playing field getting to the NFL, but it's executive positions, personnel positions, and Mike Tomlin loves where he's from. Every time you see a quote or interview, he's always saying, always 757.
But you know what's so funny about it? But that's what I found out about it, though. One thing I noticed about athletes from this area, anybody from this area, regardless of where they go, where they travel. I was talking to Reggie Langhorne about this. Reggie Langhorne's from Smithfield, played for the Indianapolis Colts, a great from the 757, played in Suffolk. And he is the on-field monitor for the Cleveland Browns. Okay. And I mean, he talks up the 757 to anybody in the state of Ohio. He he gets in discussions, debates, and pride in it. You got guys like Robert, we had Robert Banks on our podcast, Brandon and I the other day, just talking about, how he talks about the 757 and Hampton High football down in Houston. And so having these discussions keeps it alive, and it's real powerful.
It does. And let's not sugarcoat it. 757 carried the state of Virginia in sports.
No. Hey, listen.
For a long time.
It's not even a conversation.
It's not.
No other area in the state of Virginia.
I get tired of it.
They can't keep up. Right now, they need years.
Thank you.
To catch up.
I've been trying to tell people that. Yeah.
They need years of success to come along and take away what the 757 has done for the state of Virginia, for sure.
It's amazing, man. Carl, man, I'm going to let you run, but July 7th, 8th, right? That's the camp, Hampton University?
Yep. July 7th is the student athlete leadership symposium at Hampton University from 9 to 11 and the football offices. And the football camp is Saturday, 9 to 1 at Hampton University. And we're also having a bowling party, man. We want everybody to come out that evening at, I'm forgetting the bowling alley in Hampton.
Spare time.
It's a family fun environment. We're going to have food. We're going to have giveaways, DJ, fun times. And it's always a family fun affair. So definitely want you there and your family for sure.
Oh, we're going to come through for sure, man. I'm going to be in town.
Please come and have a good time, man. And so we're looking forward to it.
Carl, you're my man. I appreciate you hopping on, man, and giving back to the community. I love what you're doing. I'm a huge fan, bro. You and Vernon, man. I love what you're doing.
Vernon is my man. Hampton High guy. Yep.
Yes, sir, man. I love what you guys are doing, and I'm going to definitely check you out. And we're going to post this before. We're going to promote it a little bit, put it on your page and the Hampton Roads page and all that, and give everybody all the information.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Man, appreciate you, Carl. Talk to you later, man. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This episode is sponsored by La Vida Agency. Protect, Prepare, Plan.